I'm Crystal Faulkner with the CPA and Business Advisory firm of Cooney, Faulkner and Stevens. We're here today with Senator Shannon Jones, who's currently serving her first full term in the Ohio Senate, representing the 7th Senate District, which includes all of Warren County and portions of Hamilton County. She's here today to talk about Ohio's new oil and gas legislation. And Shannon, this is pretty new legislation. It was passed back in May. It's going to impact Ohio, hopefully in a very positive way. Maybe you can share some of the details.
Sure. We think it's a really exciting time in Ohio. We know now that there are significant natural resources beneath our feet, literally, and the technology exists for us to both safely and efficiently pull those resources out of the ground to provide oil and gas. Some experts say for up to 100 years.
That is just phenomenal. And you currently are serving as the chairman of the Senate's Energy and Public Utility Commission.
Right. That's right.
So how is this new legislation, this new way of getting these natural resources out of the ground, how is that going to benefit Ohioans?
Well, there were two objectives that we wanted to accomplish when we entered down this bill, Senate Bill 315. The first was to be able to extract the minerals safely. So we've been drilling in Ohio for over 150 years using this process of hydraulically fracturing, which is simply taking water and sand and a small amount of lubricant to be able to crush through the sediment. And in doing so, we've done that in a vertical way. Now technology allows us to do it on a horizontal path, allowing us to access these resources that we could never get to before. So those new resources are going to result in many new jobs and much economic development in the state.
That's exactly where I was going, because I really think the big benefit to Ohio is the additional economic benefit, the jobs.
Yeah, this is what's exciting. Just this year, by the end of 2012, we're projecting that over 20,000 new jobs will be created in this industry. But by 2015, this gives you a sense of the magnitude of this shale play in Ohio. They expect over 200,000 new jobs in the state in just 3 years. That is phenomenal.
That is absolutely phenomenal. And we want to continue our conversation talking to Senator Shannon Jones on WCPO.com/businesswise. So, Senator, you mentioned the economic development and the impact. Where is the shale? Where is it expected that the largest portion of this valuable resource is going to be pulled out of the ground?
Great question. Just like traditional drilling in Ohio, that we've been doing for over 150 years, there's over 80,000 wells. It's mostly in the rural eastern part of the state. The same is true now with these new kinds of well drilling technologies. So along the eastern border of the state of Ohio, bordering Pennsylvania, is where this resource is. So the good news for Ohio is that's been a very economically depressed part of the state. And so this is going to put much needed infrastructure and job creation opportunities for people who've been living in that area.
You know, I'm from that part of the state, and it is economically, it's really, these people are hurting. So to the extent we can help them with jobs, it's a great thing. But you mentioned on the other side of that there's some concern environmentally. Maybe you can address that.
Well, we knew that we wanted to be able to access these minerals, the oil and gas beneath us, but we insisted on doing it in a safe way. And Senate Bill 315 set the standard, really, and is now the standard bearer across the country. So what we've done is twofold. First of all, you hear mostly about these fracking fluids, which is typically 1/100% of the fluids that are going into the well. There's going to be full disclosure on those, with the exception of those trade secret protections that already exist under federal and state law. But we took it one step further and said, if there are doctors that need to be able to treat people, if communities believe that they have been harmed in some way, those trade secrets would have to be made available to them. So we really went above and beyond to make sure that the public was protected. We also are insisting that those chemicals that are used are disclosed. People can go to fracfocus.org to be able to see that. And the Ohio Department of Natural Resources is in the process right now of creating its own database. So if you're in the state of Ohio, you can be able to access the database and see those fluids. The one other point that I would make is not only is it the most stringent disclosure rules in the country, we also went one step farther, and in the beginning of the drilling process where the earth is exposed, and again, we've been doing drilling in Ohio this way for 150 years, But we took the added measure to say when that earth is exposed before the 4 layers of steel and 4 layers of concrete are put in there, that there has to be full disclosure of what, with that open earth is what kinds of fluids are being, potentially, in contact with open earth.
When do we expect to see this really up and going?
Well, it's happening right now. I mean, what 315 was doing was putting a regulatory structure in place. I mean, what we're seeing is a real boom, a real oil and gas boom in Ohio, and that we've seen it in other parts of the country, but what's exciting is that we have these shale formations beneath us with the technology now to be able to get it. So long before 315 was even put into law, we were seeing this happening, but we wanted to make sure we quickly reacted so that we could have the good regulatory structure in place.
You know, Shannon, I do want to shift gears just a moment before I let you go. You've been such an amazing public servant throughout your entire career. What drives you? Where does the passion come from to really get out there? And you take leadership roles in your positions in Columbus. Where does that passion come from?
I don't think I'm any different than most public officials, that we're driven by a desire to do good things for our communities. And for me, I have a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old, and my husband and I believe, very strongly that we have to be in there fighting every day for their future. There are huge concerns that we've been trying to address in the Senate. Certainly at the national level, there are many concerns, and we feel strongly that we need to be there to try to make a better future for them. And so this shale play, while it's technical and in this area, we're not directly impacted by it, it's so important to our future economy in the state. I mean, we're talking about by the end of 2015, not just 200,000 new jobs in the state, which is extraordinary. We're talking about the projections are $12 billion worth of economic development investment in the state. That's significant.
It has to be so satisfying for you to really make an impact for the citizens of this state. And somebody listening today, watching today, maybe a young woman, what would you say to them in terms of following their dream of politics?
Well, I think that we can all serve our communities in a variety of different ways. I've happened to had the opportunity and the blessing to be able to do it in this way. But I think, we really owe it to our children and our grandchildren to be in there every day talking about the tough issues. There are no easy answers. There's no silver bullet. There's no panacea. But we've got to be present, and I really encourage everyone to participate in the dialogue.
Well, Senator Jones, thank you, and I really appreciate everything you're doing for our state.
Thank you. Thank you.